are changing the topic into enhancing cybersecurity mitigation efforts. And so for this topic, we would like to invite our moderator, Ms. Valerie Heng, Accounts Senior Manager of Global Domains and Strategy in ICANN. And in this session, we have two speakers, Vinscent Cheng, Hsien Hu, the Senior Investigator, Criminal Investigation Bureau, and Tom Hongfu Meng, researcher at Net Chinese Co. And I will let our moderator to introduce them more.
Good afternoon. My name is Valerie from ICANN. I'm honored today to have four gentlemen on stage with me. On my left, I have Vincent Hu. He's the Criminal Investigations Bureau and Alban Kwan. Tom Meng from Net Chinese. Alban Kwan from CSC. Chiou Pin-Ren, CHT Security. So this session will focus on discussing the experience of using the ICANN Registration Data Request Service, in short RDRS, in their area of work. So I'll give a brief intro of what RDRS is. It is actually a proof of concept service that handles requests for access to non-public registration data related to generic top-level domains. So what are registration data? They are the contact information of domain name holders. And this information is used in a variety of reasons. For example, criminal investigations, intellectual property rights infringement, and so on. So RDRS actually connects the requester and the ICANN accredited registrar who have volunteered to participate in this pilot system. So RDRS was launched late November last year, and as of last month, March, we have about 86 registrars participating in this system, covering about 57% of the global domains under management. You can find the public reports at the link on the screen. So this is one of the matrix. More than 1,000 requests were sent to the participating registrars. So this is the usage matrix. So the tool is intended to capture the usage and demand data for up to 2 years. And this is to inform the ICANN board's considerations of the policy recommendations related to a system for standardized access or disclosure for GTLDs. CCTLDs operators do not have contract with ICANN and are not subject to the ICANN consensus policy. So ICANN is collecting user feedback and considering various system changes during this pilot period. So we shall now hear from our user whether the tool meets their needs. So I will ask 3 questions to our panelists, and starting with the requester in the flow, Vincent, how would you describe the usability of RDRS?
This is Vincent. Thanks for inviting me here. And in my own opinion, I would say it's kind of useful for police investigation. For non-participants of those registrants, we probably cannot do the request to them. However, for the rest of the participants in this RDRS, I tried several requests of them, and most of them will give me some results. Depends on the applicable law in local, such as when we request them under certain law like gambling, they will say is not qualified for the query, but for the other kind of crime like fraud or most severe like CSAM kind of crime, they will give us some details so we can go further for the investigation. So I would say it's quite useful, but for now we only use some cases on that. I expect that we police use more resources to help us to improve our investigation in the future, like RDIS, and I expect that it will improve, like it can add some preservation function, like Meta or other global company will use some kind of feature to help law enforcement to preserve some information before those criminal or suspects delete their data. I think that and it's just my suggestions. I hope that RDIS or ICANN can think about add some functions into it.
Thank you. Alban?
All right. So I would say that the RDRS at the moment is tremendously useless. Sorry to say that, but well, basically, what we find is that the effort that you have to put into place to actually get a meaningful response is rather high. I can share a bit more about the practical experience so far, but it's a really short answer. Is not exactly useful at the moment. There needs to be a lot more work put in place for it to be very useful. Yeah, and I probably should hold on to some of the comment until later on, but that's my quick response.
Pin-Ren?
Hi, thank you for having me here. I'm Pin-Ren from Cybersecurity as a secure researcher in threat intelligence. So from my experience of using RDIS platform, how to set up? From the beginning, when I heard about the new platform, I was so excited. And I finished my registration in maybe 2 minutes. And after I log on to the system, I tried some fresh domain name we received and observed, which is used for abusing Taiwan's customer users recently. And the system just told me, the registrant is not in the participant list. So I got nothing from the system. I'm sorry to talk about that, but from my perspective, I think this is a good start from ICANN because all of the researchers, we need a place to grab more information behind the scene, especially those criminals. They are trying to use a lot of money to buy the domain names from a very cheap prices. And that bring the challenges and difficulties to threat researchers from hunting them down. And this platform, if we can have this platform to be having more participants from the registrant, then it will be very useful for us. That's my quick response. Thank you.
Thank you. So Tom, as a participating registrar, would you share with us what constitutes a successful request? Like what is it that a registrar wants to see to approve or deny the request?
Hi everyone, this is Tom speaking, and thank you Valerie for the floor. One of the things is that from what we see, so from ICANN's report, is that many requesters don't fill out the forms completely or as according as requested. And the other thing is that you need to provide legal basis, proper legal basis as reasons for why you want these data. It's not that we can give them to anyone else. And one of the things I want to mention is also the reason that it takes time to verify who it is that is requesting or who is requesting from us towards those data. So that also takes time. Thank you.
Okay, so Vinscent, what is the key factor that affect your overall satisfaction of RDRS?
Well, in my opinion, well, from the perspective from law enforcement, if we can get those we can get those details from the system, then the system works. Then we can ask nothing more. But I get the idea that others probably cannot access those information they need, because we use the kind of different law to acquire those materials. We use like a code of criminal act. In Taiwan, you use 刑法. Like that, which means when someone or we've noticed that some criminal activity happened, then we access those systems to get the information. That's a low basis. But for others, they probably do not have the rights to access those data. So I think that's the problem where it is. But for me, I would say, I know some such as gambling. In most of the other country, if you put some area and you allow some business to run over there, then there is no crime activity at all. So sometimes gambling is not a right reason to get those information we need via RDRS. But for CSAM, which is an international serious crime, so I can access those data via this kind of criminal activities, which means the reason you want this, the role to play, a reason you want this data is quite of fundamental. So in law enforcement, we use those data to prosecute some criminals. That's very acceptable and reasonable for registrants or others. But maybe for other companies or other person, you want that data, you need to find your own legal basis to do so. That's my opinion.
What do you think, Tom?
What Vincent said is actually very true. Just like as we are based in registrar based in Taiwan, so we do need to abide by Taiwan local regulations. So if someone brings me something from overseas, I might not be able to accept it, because I would have to ask them to say, so you might need to go through local legal processes to get the relevant document for me to provide you with those informations, because I still need to abide by my local law.
Alban.
So I think that highlights a couple of the problem that we can see. First of all, I have 4 points of why it doesn't work really well at the moment. So the first one is that companies, like the victims, don't know what information we need to provide. Everyone seems to have their own different rules, and like phishing issues and IP abuse, if you know how to do it, you do it internationally. You know, if you want to target someone in Taiwan, you don't register the domain name in Taiwan. And you know, you carry out the activity outside of Taiwan, right? So which law? You know, how do I prove that? You know, if you want a proof in the kind of a legal regulation sense, it's really hard to provide at this stage, because the first thing that we want is to understand who is behind that. So that's part of the reason why we need to have that data, so investigation can actually happen. So, you know, certainly most of the people that would need that information does not have what Vincent has. So that's one of the problem. And I think the second problem that I see is that registrars sometimes confuse RDRS to take down request. So if I'm requesting you to take down a domain name, all right, we may have a lot more you know, burden of proof. RDRS is not meant to do that. So, for example, we receive some of the replies basically saying, have you tried to take down on the host or the registrar before we, we're requesting information. We're not going to try the host. You know, I think they're confused about RDRS request and a takedown request. As I mentioned, most of these are being done by the same team. And I think there's a lot more education that needs to happen. Now, the third one is that we are requesting too much information. Like the legal basis is not part of the standard template at the moment, I think. But there are other information that we really should be requesting that we're not requesting at the moment. So disclosing information about the registrant, I think the main concern from a legal framework perspective is two, like indemnity. Am I going to get in trouble for disclosing that information? Are we providing some kind of indemnity clause in the request? So as a provider, or as we disclose that information, we're not going to get in trouble. That's not in the current framework, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the second question is that we really should be checking, whether if I disclose that information, how are the data being retained or used? At least we need to get some kind of affirmation from the requester that we know what we're doing, and we're not going to retain that information beyond what permitted by regulation or misuse that information. Like, that's probably part of the indemnity that we need to get in order to be more comfortable disclosing that information. Now, that's the third point. And the fourth point is that no one knows about this at the moment. So beyond this kind of community, really any people knows about that. And the registrar participation actually dropped. If I'm not mistaken, I heard from a news recently about a month ago, 2 registrars just drop out. I don't know why they dropped out, but apparently they're not happy about the system, so they're dropping out. So I think these are things that we need to address. And when we have time, I can talk about some of the efforts that we're working on in getting more data, but I'll pass on the time to you first.
Okay, thank you, Alban. So from my view, I think RDRS platform is a good start point for those interests from straight researching or lawful inspects, law departments. And just like Vincent has mentioned, most of the case you have to prove that you have a very legal or formal precondition to request for the sharing of the data. And the second is from our practical experience, most of the time we are dealing with a lot of newly seen malicious domain names every day. And if we are going to request the data of each domain name one by one on the system, that will be burning the researchers down instead. So I think this is a good start, but we need to discuss how we can enhance the platform and how we can make someone to determine, maybe not someone at the registrar side, but maybe decision team at ICANN or somewhere place to review the request and to see if this is related to abuse or security issues. Then maybe we can also speed up the process of approving or denying the request and giving a very formal baseline for every decision for the data request. Yeah, that's my opinion.
So one final question for each panelist. What is one major area of improvement you would suggest for RDRS? Vincent?
Well, I use a lot of international systems to access to help me to gather information I need for criminal investigation. And one of the feature I haven't seen on the RDRS is a preservation request, which for instance, like Meta or Instagram, they use a function like you can any law enforcement and can ask them to preserve the data, because some suspects or people or person we are interested in, they tend to delete their account information or any relevant data before we conduct our investigation. So the function they made can help law enforcement to request them to preserve the data, the account, like such as the user ID, and the phone number or email addresses or login IP, and so on. And we can ask those companies to preserve those data, so we can take our time to conduct a proper request to them. But for RDRS, I haven't seen the function, so I would suggest that maybe you can consider it about put some efforts on that, and maybe we can help us to preserve the data. Then we can access those data before those criminals delete it. And that's my opinion for now.
Thank you, Tom.
From my opinion and from our observation at the Chinese is that identity of the request is also a crucial issue to verify. So we would like, if we have to make one recommendation, I would recommend that the system be in place to verify the identity of the requester to reduce the time that we have to go through to verify who the requester is. Because a lot of the time from my observation is that not only, just like Alban said, the request information or how they use it is also very important. So then we need to know who's using it as well, before we provide it to them. Thank you.
So for my opinion, I think we can list out a whole list of wish list of what we want. For example, we want, right information, the who is accuracy, and we know we want a certain amount of time before you disclose. But I think that's moot point, because at the moment, I think what we want has already been expressed within ICANN structure. And the problem is that on the other side, in the civil society, they would think all these are really bad ideas. So that's the problem, right? So I think what's important now is that we need to get more stakeholder involved and people learning about the system and actually participating in this particular proof of concept and get more people comment on it. So the conversation doesn't become so, just like two parties fighting it out against each other. So I think there are at least two studies that are ongoing. I think the International Trademark Association is working with ECHO, an internet policy body in Europe, to do a comprehensive study on RDRS. So CSC is also conducting our own research in APAC. Unfortunately, we're working together with ICANN and a university in mainland China at the moment to actually collect requests from our customer and then process the request through a research arm, and then we can gather the data and then give comment. So this particular program has two main purposes. I think the first purpose is actually ICANN engagement. So at the moment, the conversation is in deadlock because, those who are talking about this is the ICANN participant, and we all know their opinion already. So what we want to do is to expand that reach beyond the ICANN traditional community and provide a way for the private sector to actually participate in this discussion. So there's an ICANN engagement perspective to this. And the other one is to promote it. So as I mentioned, if you want that proof of concept to be successful, we need more people participating. And why we can't just let it do it themselves is because I can guarantee you the private organization is not going to give any comment whatsoever. They will try it once. If it doesn't work, they will forget about it, and they would not give you any comment at all. So we need to find a way to actually collect that information from a lot of parties, give feedback to them, and encourage them to have ongoing dialogue within ICANN community. So this is the program that we're running. Certainly, I would like to see if there's a opportunity to run similar program in Taiwan as well. So that might be something that we can take away. So that's my comment.
Yeah, so from my view about the enhancement, the first one I would like to mention is like Alban has mentioned that I think having more participants from the regional trend to join this platform is mandatory because from my experience, most of my requests of data has been denied because those regional trends are not on the participant list. So having more participants to be joining this platform is mandatory, and therefore we can know how those restrictions deal with the request, and we can find a way out to define the baselines for different perspective or request type. And the second will be currently everyone can register their accounts on RDR's platform, and as an individual or from a company's perspective, but I think most of it are just the difference of the email address they are using. So maybe in the future, this platform can be enhanced by letting the company to register an account representing the company instead of individuals. So there are some benefits that can bring to this. The most important part is protecting the researcher's privacy, especially his personal information. Most of the cases, when we are dealing with criminals, we don't want someone knows Pin-Ren is asking for your data, and Pin-Ren is watching on you. So protecting the requester's information is necessary, and maybe if we are going to resolve the issue that so many individuals are requesting the data just for other reasons, and the companies of regions are tired of dealing with those requests, maybe we can let companies to be the requester instead. So we can just verify the identity of the company, and we can let some contact window to use that account to be the requester. And the last one I would like to suggest is about adding the support of CCTLDs. Although I had a short talk with Moderator just before the panel about that CCTLD is currently is not available or joining this program, but from our perspective, we see a lot of malicious domain names are using the CCTLDs instead. Maybe because the lack of management from the registration side, or the slow speed of dealing with the abuse reportings. So maybe having the CCTLD teams to join the platform will also be helpful for extending the coverage. That's my opinion. Thank you.
So thank you all for all your valuable feedback and the time to share your experience. Rest assured, we will take down all this feedback, and they will influence the creation of a better tool and policy. So this brings us to the end of this session on time. Do we have any questions?
Hi, Henry Cheng from Nominet. Just to make one comment on Vincent's remark on the retention of data when the criminal updated data during the course of investigation. So I've just looked at the ICANN Registrar Accreditation Agreement. So there's provision in section specific cohesion 6 in terms of data retention, and there's a provision for law enforcement agency to request for those data. So I guess your comment is around how the RDRS reflect that specification requirement and the actual kind of logistic and process to access to those data, just to add to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anju?
So I just wanted to clarify. I heard you, Pin-Ren, commenting on how they should verify companies as requesters. So the whole thing about DRS, it's a simplified version. It's a proof of concept of the real system that the committee recommended ICANN to build, which is ASAT, the system of, standardized system of access and disclosure of registration data. That system, in the system, it was recommended to have, verify requesters. They can identify as a representative of a company or individual users. But of course, once the recommendations was put to the board wanted to have a, financial and whatever assessment of that system, and the board came back and was like, too expensive, too long to build, not possible. And that's why RDRS came up to be its existence today. We were saying, okay, if it was too expensive, we take off some functions. We keep the main one, which is the requester can send a request. They don't have to be verified of their identities. And then the request will be sent to the registrars. And that's why the function is not existing yet. And I don't think, definitely that was in mind of the community, but I guess it would be just lower your expectation to have it within the RDRS, but rest assured, if we really build the assets in the future, it's gonna be in it. Thank you.
Thank you. We can end the session.
Okay, very good. So can we all give them a big round of applause for conducting this very meaningful discussion? 我们掌声鼓励我们所有的 panelists.